for Qlay AI Startup Pitch Night. Uh, 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 uh. I turned up the volume. We are here for Qlay's AI Startup Pitch Night. Uh, uh. We are testing for Qlay's event. Mic test, mic test. Uh, 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 uh. Hello, hello, hello. Turning up the gain. Turning up the gain. Hello, hello. able to hear me a lot clearer, even if the mic volume is low. Oh, oh, here we go. Look, look, look. Uh, uh, uh. You said you wanted to see it yellow. Yellow. It's kind of yellow. It's not yellow. It's green. Uh, uh. Uh, Hello, hello. We are streaming. Uh, uh. The input gain? Which one is the input gain? We are live right now. Live right now.
Testing, testing. Mic number 6, testing. Does this do anything on? Testing. Testing. Streaming audio, testing. Test. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I just basically boosted the gain all the way up, and then one more time. Testing.
Testing number two. Testing number two. How do we sound right now, Tok-san, on the internet? How do we sound on the live stream? I am talking on a regular volume. I am not speaking loud right now. This is regular volume. Hello, hello. If if Tom, you are not satisfied with this volume, this event, uh, 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 hello, 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 hello. There we go. Uh, uh, Hello.
Cool. Hey, everybody. We're going to start in 1 minute. So, if everyone could take a seat real quick, that would be very, very nice. We're going to start in 1 minute. Thank you very much. We're going to start in 1 minute. All right. Thank you, everybody. Let's start. And we also put the drinks out. So, yeah, please feel free to grab drinks. All right. We are going to start in 1 minute. Please, everyone, please grab your drinks, grab your pizza, and take a seat. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's actually. Amar, are you here? Amar? Ah, there you are. Awesome. So I think you have to. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna start. If everyone could take a seat, that would be phenomenal. Hey, Jewel, can you like have everyone sit down? Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, if you want to judge too. Get on the front row. We need them. Yeah. Whatever. We need to make it look like it's legit. It's just like makeshift.
All right, everyone, please sit down. That'd be great. If everyone could take a seat.
I think this one.
All right, I'm
Toku's the
actually.
guy. Huh? Toku's
Okay.
What happened? He's not here.
Please sit down.
Did you ever
I
connect
beg
with,
you. Okay,
what is that?
Dave,
Yeah.
can you go ask these people to sit down,
Yeah.
or you? Can you like tell them to sit? All right, we're gonna start now. Thank you all for sitting down. Thank you all for sitting down. Okay, yeah, that could also work. All right, cool. I think I'm gonna start anyways. Thank you all so much for coming today to our AI Startup Pitch Night. I'm one of the hosts. Great to meet you. My name is Tom Nakata. I just wanted to quickly start off by giving a quick intro to the sponsors and the hosts. And then after that, we'll get right into the pitch itself. To give you a quick self-introduction about myself, I'm one of the hosts. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a startup called Qlay. And to give you, okay, the thing broke. Can you go to the next slide, Dave?
Try it
now. Okay, perfect. I'm one of the co-founders and the co-founders. I'm the guy on the right, and the guy on the left is our CTO. And what we build is an AI proctor for interview cheating. We also do interview cheating as well as online assessment cheating. So any sort of AI assisted cheating that takes place in a remote platform. How it works is we built an AI proctor that's especially for cheating detection, and it's mostly used for remote interviews and remote tests where a company would use our tool to create a new link for an interview or a test, and the candidate can set up a mobile app. The candidate's smartphone would basically become the second eye, and it's able to live stream a different angle of the interview or the test. And as you can see, the candidate can put the smartphone to the side of them. And what happens after this is that when you're interviewing a candidate, you can see the side angle of the interview. So you know if they're using an AI tool. for cheating or not. So that's a good tool that we are currently building. Dave, can you go to the next slide? It won't. All right. Cool. Sounds good. Do you think you can full screen it? So we actually do a lot of these events, and I just wanted to quickly introduce our upcoming event, which is an event we're having on December 8th. We're doing a fireside chat with Elisa Rosenthal. She was the former head of sales at OpenAI, so I think she joined before ChatGPT, before DALL-E, and she basically grew the sales organization from ARR of like a couple million to a couple billion. So that'll be an interesting fireside chat. Please go to our Luma if you're interested. We're also doing another one of this AI Startup Pitch Night on January 20th, also here. So if you're interested in things like this, please join again. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Open Network Lab, which is an accelerator ran by a company called Digital Garage, who has this venue. They invest around $100,000, and the valuation tends to be very good. We also went through that accelerator. So if you're interested in the Open Network Lab accelerator, please let me know, and I'm happy to give you a warm intro. That's it from me. Please add me on LinkedIn if you're interested in the Open Network Lab accelerator or the AI Proctor or anything, any other thing. I'm happy to, I'll be around. So that's it from me. I want to give the mic to Dave. Please give a round of applause to a host of today.
Oh, hey, everybody.
Dave. Thank you.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to have, before we get our amazing judges to come up, I'm going to have TheAgentic present right now so we can talk about our sponsor for the event. So everyone give it up for TheAgentic.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. My name is Akash. I'm the founder of TheAgentic. We are a 3-year-old company, been live with our product line for the past 1 year, more than 600 customers. We only work with AI founders and startups. That's our entire business. We work with more than 600 AI startups globally with what we do. And typically you would expect me to give a sales pitch. I'll refrain from that. Rather, since this is an audience full of founders, people wanting to be founders, members of founding teams, I'm going to talk about, so we run a program called the Launchpad. Now what we do in this program is, we are fundamentally a large language model company. We build our own large language models that compete with the likes of OpenAI, but of course only for agentic workflows, and we use a combination of neurosymbolic reasoning and LLMs to make agents very, very extremely basically reliable. So we run a program called the Launchpad, where what we do is we work with founders who are not technical from the AI domain. They come from domains like cybersecurity, biotech, construction tech, and basically we help them build an AI product. In the past 1 year, we worked with more than 79 startups, or we are working right now with 79 startups, so where we're helping the founders build the entire product. It's not just providing a platform. We're actually taking the risk of building the product for them. And our approach is we don't take any money until they are able to fundraise. And if they can't fundraise, we take the loss. So what I'm going to speak about today, some of you may, it's going to be a bit of a provoking session. Okay, some of you may not like what I say, but it's a change in the way companies are being built. Okay, so here's an interesting statistic. 0.7 out of 100 founders who try to raise money for the venture in Silicon Valley will end up raising money. Right. And this is not me making these numbers up. This is industry statistics. Right. The nice thing I like about Silicon Valley is everybody thinks they're a part of the 0.7, but that's the reality. This is what the number looks like. And if that wasn't interesting enough, less than 3% of the founders who raise money, eventually after working on the startup for 5 to 7 to 10 years, working 28-hour days, 10 days a week, end up after 5, 7, 10 years making more than $1 million from an exit that the company might have. So less than 3% of the companies actually return money to their investors. And even I would say the percentage that where the founders get rich is even less than that. Silicon Valley calls this model the power law model. At the Agentic, we like to call this the billionaire or homeless model. That's what startup building in Silicon Valley is looking like these days. Now, there's something that's changing. We have worked with a variety of founders that currently out 11 of them that within a year have gone from idea to product to more than $1 million in ARR, where it's 1 or 2 founders. That's it. That's the size of the company. And these are in difficult domains. These are not vibe coding companies. This is not the next Lovable. These are companies building in domain like life sciences, building in domain like space tech, semiconductors. They're using AI in very difficult domains. And so we call it the lean vertical AI startup story, right? And that's a kind of a new way of looking how you build a company. Now, classically, how this framework differs is, classically, let's say if you started a software company 5 years back, you started a SaaS company 5 years back, you would have to, if you're building in Silicon Valley, essentially you would make a pitch deck, spend a good 6 to 12 months pitching and raising money for your idea, get a seed round to get you to a basic product. If you got product market fit and you got lucky, great. If not, bad luck. After that, you went through at least 3 or 4 or 5 funding rounds before you got to a point where your startup broke even or got to a certain scale. So as a founder, you're down to owning 3 to 5% of your company. And that's why when you read a $200 million exit on LinkedIn, ask the founder honestly how much they've made. In most cases, the founders are lucky on a $2 million exit to have made more than $1 million or $2 million for themselves. Okay, and I've got tons of friends who have been founders. When you privately ask them, that's the kind of money they make. Now, what's changing with AI? And this is not vibe coding, okay? I'm one of those guys who's an anti-vibe coding guy. You can use vibe coding to prototype, but if you're going to build production systems using vibe coding, once you deploy it at your customer sites, be prepared to leave the country where the customers will be coming to kill you, basically, because that's what vibe coding does. It produces junky odd code. But what's happening in the lean vertical AI approach is, we have seen founders being able to build a company. We're working with founders where our entire thesis is build a product, get your first 2 or 3 customers, and then do a seed round. So essentially, seed is your new Series A, and essentially using the seed round to scale your companies. You're away, and most cases, what we sense is most founders will end up owning 80 to 90% of the company by the time the founders actually, where the company's making money. Now, after that, if they want to do a Series A, Series B to really scale big, that's the founder's call. But it's not the founder's not on this crazy treadmill of saying, I have to go Series A, B, C, D, E, Series AA, double B, Series double Z, until I basically can build a successful company. Another interesting thing we are seeing is the software business model is dead. Most AI founders I'm seeing in the past 2 years are using AI as a technology, but the business model looks like software. And the interesting part is that's coming to an end, at least in the vertical B2B space. Of course, I won't talk consumer because we don't generally work with consumer startups. We typically work with vertical B2B applied AI startups. Is the software business model is dead. Pricing approaches and how you do business is dead. And you have kind of new approaches coming, new business models coming up, which in my opinion are a much bigger opportunity if you're building a startup yourself, rather than a tech or a startup, a software model. So one interesting thing we're seeing more and more is custom software is back. Look, in the world of SaaS, you took 9 to 15 minutes to build a production product. And in most cases, you allowed your customers 5 to 7% room to customize the product to their need, right? What we're seeing with AI is now that essentially the most successful startups are in the enterprise or the business-to-business space are the ones where they're building a custom solution using their product for their customers. It's like the Palantir business model, but now happening on a much larger scale. The Palantir business model worked in the world of software where you had multi-million-dollar deals. We are seeing this model work on $20,000, $30,000 deals. I'll skip this. Another interesting thing we're seeing is, as much as basically people say, oh, we don't want human services, if you're building an AI company, services, whether you call them forward deployed engineers, backward deployed engineers, I don't care, but services is an important part of your business, right? Your value addition is, look, agents for some time to come. We build language models. We build symbolic, we in fact marry neurosymbolic AI with language models. So we do have a fairly deep understanding of how these language models work, in a real deep sense. At least the next 2 years, I don't see agents getting to a point where you can make them work completely autonomously. Right? It's just not there, unless you're building some very trivial stuff. Agents, you can't make AI systems completely autonomous. There will be always a human element coming to it. And what we're seeing is the most successful companies are the ones which typically are combining human talent with AI. So I'll give you an example. We work with a startup. They don't like me mentioning their name, but what they do is, it's a team of ex-Intel people working on what's called process node migration. So like, let's say you build a chip 10 years back on a certain process node from TSMC. Now you need to move to the latest process node. That's a 2-year process, and it takes a pretty large engineering team. And guess what? The smartest engineers don't want to work on that problem. Why? Because it's boring work. But it needs to get done. So you have mid-level engineers doing it. And the challenge you have there is, a mistake in the chip development work is not a bug fix. A mistake in the chip development work is a $100 million tape out, gone wrong, and you're not getting the money back. Right? So what these guys do is, they use AI with strategic talent in the valley, very experienced talent, to basically cut that time, what would be the 2-year time frame to do a process node migration and bring that down to 6 months. And the reliability rate is much higher, because imagine this. You're using AI and you're using the top tier talent in Silicon Valley. So it's a new kind of outsourcing. Outsourcing, we always saw it as it going to an offshore country with cheaper labor. Now this is sort of the reverse approach happening. It's more AI agents with the best quality talent you can afford, and that combination is what is creating real results. And the last part is, I call it the Silicon Valleyization of the world. We're starting to see basically completely industries being reinvented with AI. We've all heard of a seed-strapped or a bootstrapped AI company. Anybody here has heard of a bootstrapped biotech company? Anyone? Luke, can you raise your hand? So Luke is building a bootstrapped biotech company. That takes some courage. You know, biotech is, look, I've been spending 6 months on, I've been working on AI for a while. And so I started learning biotech for the last 6 months. Whoever said AI is difficult, AI is not difficult. Biotech is a hell of a lot more difficult than AI is. But it's also sort of creating a scenario where you have interesting companies coming in, basic materials, in AI, you know, in biotech, in real hard sciences, creating products where you have 3-4 person teams. You literally, I wouldn't use the vibe coding because that's what gets my blood pressure going. You know, I don't like the idea of vibe coding, but basically, again, you have entire businesses and entire R&D cycles being disrupted with this kind of an approach. And the nice part of what I'm seeing with most successful startups building in the B2B space is you're incrementally building, right? Your first customer could be a scenario where it's 70% human services and 30% AI. By the time you get to the customer number 10 or 20, you're down to a point where it's 90% AI and 10% humans, right? So it allows you to build much quicker and get to revenue much quicker. So when I said this point that you can build a product fairly quickly and you have revenue, is not because you can vibe code, it's because what you're really offering to a customer is a combination of technology and human service. Initially it's more service heavy, and then it sort of quickly moves into becoming more AI driven. Sorry, the clicker's gone. Okay. And the last thing I'll mention this is, you know, there's this whole thing of, so we hosted an event today, this afternoon in Palo Alto, and the topic was the case for the boring AI company, right? And everybody talks of Silicon Valley's mantra is, you know, what is it called? Break things and fail fast. Guess what? It doesn't work in AI. If you start breaking stuff, in biotech, you're going to kill human beings, all right? So you can't break stuff. In this case, so now suddenly what we are starting to see is interest of customers and investors is shifting from the most shiny new object to make the AI work. Today what we're finding is, if you're a founder, it's next to impossible to raise money against an idea. Why? Because investors have been burnt putting money into AI companies where the product never got delivered. Most people are saying, show me a live product before I talk. So you're seeing essentially a point where reliability in the AI and the fact that your AI works is what's going to differentiate you. Now this is, again, an interesting thing we have seen is that in the world of software development, you spend, and I'm talking application software, I'm not talking operating systems, I'm not talking of that. You spend about half your time writing code and the other half of your time debugging and testing. In the world of AI, code writing anybody can do. It takes, 5% of the effort is code writing. 95% of the time is making sure your AI doesn't screw up, especially if you're working in domains. I'm not saying semiconductors. If you're working in the construction space, if your AI screws up a project plan and it hallucinates, it can cause a lot of grief for a lot of people, basically. So my last slide is, I mentioned this point, the power law, right? So the fact that only 3% of the founders that raise money actually eventually end up building a successful company or get a successful outcome, right? What we're seeing, interestingly, is a new form of basically exit coming in, where of course there will always be the people who become the unicorns, but guess what? For every one unicorn, there are 100,000 people who wanted to become a unicorn and failed by the wayside, right? So while we all read about the success stories, again, I'm a 45-year-old guy. I don't like my odds of 1 out of 100,000. I'm a bit conservative. I want better odds, basically. So what we're seeing interestingly also coming up now is that while initially it's all about the big IPO and the big exit, we are seeing this concept of roll-up private equity coming up. I just have the last, I'll just leave with the last thought. How many of you have heard about this company called Constellation Software? Could you raise your hand? Yes, people have heard me, I always mention this. So Constellation is a Canadian company, started 30 years back. They do $10 billion a year in revenue, $2 billion in profit, close to a $90 billion market cap. They're pretty big. Their business model is, in the last 30 years, they've gone and acquired 1,500 small software companies within 3 to 5 million in revenue. And their entire idea is they give exits to founders who don't have what you call a venture scale business. And now this normally took 10 years. In the world of AI, this is happening 2 or 3 years. So as a founder, you need to ask yourself, do you want to chase a unicorn, which will take probably 5 or 10 years to build, and you own 1% of the unicorn? Or are you smart enough to say, I'll work on a startup where I own 90%, in 2 or 3 years, potentially I can get a financial return which nets me a lot more. So again, just a quick, that's what was our last slide, a quick word about us. We build large language models, we build deep research engines. We are kind of like an OpenAI Perplexity competitor with a Palantir business model. Our technology gets embedded in applied AI companies, and we also run a program called the Launchpad where we help founders engineer the AI product. We don't take any equity, and we only charge you money if you're able to successfully fundraise. And we're not clinically insane. We've been doing this for more than 80 startups. If you're interested, you can speak to me, and my colleague Hans is right at the back. If you're interested, please come and talk to us. Thank you very much.
All right, awesome. All right, next I'm going to have all the judges come up to talk about their backgrounds. All right, awesome. Let's get all the judges up and just introduce you all to the crowd. You want to come up one at a time, and we can get everybody up on stage. All right, perfect.
Good evening, everyone. My name is a bit of a tongue twister. I go by PK, P for Peter, K for Kingmaker. I make money in capital markets and gamble in startups. I serve on multiple boards and accelerate those businesses. What startup really needs is a lot of growth with enterprise connections. So I work with enterprises as well as startup. But that's what I do on the weekdays, and weekends I teach with leading universities. I teach, interestingly, a concept called AI. And how to build reliable solutions. That's me, P for Peter, K for Kingmaker, PK.
Hi, I'm Amar Saurabh, and I work for this VC firm called Mighty Capital. We are an early stage venture capital firm where we invest in seed and Series A rounds. Seed, typically the check size is 200 to 500,000, and Series A is $2 to $5 million. So talk to me if you're fundraising. I'm a product executive there, so I help them analyze products that are coming in, startups that are coming in. But my full-time job is a product manager. I was at TikTok, and I'm joining PayPal next week. I'm glad to be here.
Hi, this is Naoko from E12 Ventures. E12 Ventures is also an early stage venture capital, but we focus on more of the stages that are like Series A and beyond, with the ticket size being averaged around like 2 million. We are sector agnostic, but we are heavily like tech focused. Just the unique feature of like E12 Ventures that we are the venture capital established in joint partnership between Morado Ventures, which is established by, like founded by those Yahoo original members, and Mitsui & Co., which is a global conglomerate or Sogo Shosha in Japan. So by this unique partnership, like we are bringing in not only the like a local Silicon Valley like a heavy network, but also the unique access to the global industry network. So yeah, that's what we aim to support for the portfolio companies, and we've done quite a few AI startup investments too, like in physical AI or AI observability or like a voice AI, just to name a few. So if you think like you're a good fit and fundraising, just find me, and then let's just network. So yeah.
Hey, I'm Mohak, one of the investors at Raise Capital. Before this, I was at underscore VC in Boston, and before that, I was an early machine learning engineer at a startup in Boston called Data Robot. At Race Capital, we invest mostly in B2B enterprise software in the areas of AI infrastructure, data, dev tools, and vertical AI applications. Some companies we invested in are Databricks, Vectara, Play AI, which was recently acquired by Meta, Grok, and GoodNotes, to name a few. We mostly help on the go-to-market side, which tends to be complementary to our founders because a lot of them are very technical. And yeah, our check sizes are typically between $2 to $7 million for seed and between $5 to $10 million for Series A. So if you're raising, come talk to me.
I also want to have a special mention. We have in our house Michael Pratt. Michael Pratt is the head of products with Apple.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Michael. I was the founding PM for a team acquired by Apple and now run head of product for creator services. And yeah, it's been really cool ride and helped scale what we're doing from like mid 6 figures to over 9 figures ARR internally, and looking for cool startups to partner with and hopefully continue building out some of the cool creator tech that we're working on.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you all for being here. All right, awesome. So feel free to go back. I will get it started. So I'm Dev Chandra. I'm at Context Ventures, so we're a pre-seed VC here in the Bay, but we specifically focus on military veterans, so a lot of defense tech, AI, and other realms. And I'm also running a startup called Startup Intros, which is like our platform to connect founders to investors, as well as help you build a pitch deck and do everything you need to basically get started in the early stage. So how does the pitch night work? So basically, we're gonna have 8 amazing pitches tonight. They've worked really hard. I think we had over 30 people submit. It is the holidays, so like there's still a lot of you out, so that's awesome. You know, like December, I find that SF kind of, gets a little sleepy, but we're gonna make it a fun night. So everyone gets 5 minutes. So you're gonna come up, you're gonna do your 5-minute pitch. Now, just know if you're like hitting the 6-minute mark, remember there's time for questions. So there's 5 more minutes for questions. So you can go and save something for the question and answer session. So if you're like, I can't fit it all into 5 minutes, I'm gonna give you a soft like tap at 4 minutes, so like, okay, I got a minute left, so wrap up what you're doing, and then you get another 5 minutes to answer questions. So first we're gonna have Clarity Q come up. So I'll have the CTO of Clarity Q. I'm like blanking on your name. I don't know where you went. Guardian. I messed up. I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, that's right. All right, yeah, you're. I'm like, we had a lot of pitches, so.
Hello, everyone. My name is Felix Baum. I am the CTO and co-founder of MyGuardian. Previously, I was with Tesla developing AI systems. MyGuardian, in a nutshell, is an application that's designed to help individual people deal with some very stressful situations. So I'd like to start the pitch with a couple of questions for you all. Oh, one sec. You guys look great. Bingo. All right, this is actually kind of a long pitch, so I only have 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna just head right through it here. So I want to start with a few questions. How many of you here have recently been arrested? Oh, good for you. How many of you have been pulled over in the last couple of years? Oh, good man. How many of you have ever witnessed a crime in progress? There we go. So my question to you is, how do you feel in these situations? Do you feel like you're in a position to make your very best decisions? Do you feel possibly there might be some personal risk? My Guardian is an application that addresses these situations and addresses your feelings in these situations. It's a voice-activated application which notifies all of your trusted contacts that one of these situations is happening right now. Oh, thank you. All right, I got plenty of time. Second, it begins recording both audio and video of the situation that is now underway. It synchronizes this audio and video up to the cloud so that if your device is stolen or taken or destroyed, you still have a chain of evidence should you need it. It provides AI suggestions or advice telling you what your rights are in this situation, what you should do, what you should not do, what you should say, and what you shouldn't say. Many times we've been watching the news and we've seen some tragedies occur because people have gotten scared or they don't know what to do and they make some very, very bad decisions. The objective of My Guardian is to protect lives and to protect people's rights. The incident is recorded. It's stored in a tamper-proof evidence container, which is then not stored on our infrastructure, but on your infrastructure, most likely on your Google Drive. And if you are in real trouble, we can connect you immediately to a legal representative that will help you solve your difficult problem. There's actually surprisingly large demand for this type of application. There are over 260 million emergency interactions here in the United States alone every year. This application addresses the way that you feel when you're in these situations. It helps protect you using AI technology, telling you what to do, what not to do, and to help you make better decisions when the situation requires it. At this point, we've developed an MVP application. We are seeking funding for our go-to-market, and we have a very strong team, including myself, my co-founder Gentry Stanley. We also have lawyers on our team who will help us resolve our kind of initial interaction problems and help us go to market with their networks. Let's see. If you are like-minded, if you feel like this is a problem that needs to be solved in this nation, needs to be solved worldwide, please come up and meet with me after the presentations are over. I'd be delighted to talk with you. Thank you. I can hear you fine, yeah. Our initial go-to-market is going to be performing a major pilot test here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We've actually spoken to a number of industry groups. We've spoken to the Chinese American Business Association. We've spoken to the San Francisco Chief of Police. We've spoken with the Oakland Police Commissioner. Everyone loves it. Everyone has loved the demo, and everyone asks us the same question. Everyone has asked the same question, which is, how quickly can we get it? Even the police department knows that this is going to reduce incidents that go sideways. It's not just going to protect citizens' lives, it's also going to protect police officers' lives. In addition, we have an AI translation feature that enables you to speak with a police officer or whoever's pulling you over or whoever's attempting to arrest you, even if your first language is not English. We have a real-time translation layer that not only translates the text on the screen to your native language, but also enables you to communicate in kind of a turn-by-turn basis so that it facilitates de-escalation in whatever your native language might be.
So much. So interesting concept and kind of related to go-to-market strategy, but what sort of specific area or type of a crime or type of like, you know, the personalities of the customer base do you think is a good fit to start with? And also, you have like a multiple touch points on the like customer base, like who, or like, well, in other words, like a consumer sides or the lawyer base who could participate in a partnership, and what's going to be the kind of the best revenue model do you think would work out?
Our intention is to not just provide like a business to consumer application here. We know that there are other industries that are interested in following us in our vision. Qlay, insurance companies, they're also interested in harm reduction and risk reduction just like we are. In addition, providing a lead to the person who represents a person who actually has a problem, that is actually very high value. So we're going to be following a subscription model for the people who are B2B customers in order to generate revenue.
Question, the type of crime or type of like basic you think this would
So
be?
this, our original vision was to just have this be an application that helps you when you are actually interacting with a police officer, when you're having some sort of like legal interaction. And the feedback that we've gotten from the communities we've spoken to already is that this is going to be a great application for recording crimes in progress, which is now like it's one of our top line items when you open the app. There are a lot of people who are subject to hate crimes, subject to robberies, subject to other forms of violence, and there is clearly a very strong demand for that. So we built the infrastructure already, and adding the additional use case, it made sense to us. All right.
Question here. Do you have any legal liabilities that you're kind of liable for if you give legal advice?
We can't technically give legal advice. That is the job of the lawyer who joins the call if you need a lawyer. We can, however, provide the same information that you would find if you were to go to the ACLU website. They actually have specific steps for virtually every jurisdiction in the United States. There are ACLU chapters across the entire country. So we're actually working with them in order to find out exactly what to say for your current GPS location. And again, this is not legal advice, and there's a disclaimer at the very beginning when you open up the app, but it is extremely useful information, and it provides a lot of de-escalation power when the situation requires it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was my question. Thank you so much for the presentation. How does data jurisdiction work in this case, and based on how you collect data and where you store, does it change and is admissible or admissible in court? Like, how do you handle that?
How does what?
Data jurisdiction, like where you store and collect data, affects if it's admissible in the court, if it's
can be used, right?
Excellent question. We consistently synchronize the video and audio recordings that we make to the phone to a cloud drive. And that is actually not our cloud drive, it is the user's cloud drive. In addition, we have an ongoing process that uses the phone's ID, the person's ID, the GPS location, and the timestamp to create hashes of every single block of video as it's written to the user's location. We also keep a copy of all of these hashes in a separate location to assure that evidence has not been tampered with, and we can actually compare those two and see if there's actually been a problem. In addition, if the phone is confiscated and is cracked, we have to be very careful, like things like people's trusted contacts, their lawyer, their priest, their family members. That's actually private information. That's not information that we actually store on any of our services. That's something that's only stored locally on the end user's phone. In addition, at the very end of the process, once the recording is finished, we have a step whereby the AI watches the entire video, listens to the entire audio transcripts, and creates an AI summary of everything that has transpired. So should the person need to file a report, a police report, say, at this point, that's actually just, it's been made for them automatically. And as a subscription service, we're planning on making that like a one-click method to save people time and energy. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
All right, next we'll have Clarity Q come up. Here you go.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. I'm Orly Shavi, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Clarity Q, and we are here to revolutionize the world of data analytics. Now let's see how exactly. Perfect, so this is us, Clarity Q. Okay, working. These are the founders, with 3 founders, Ronnie, Adi, and I. For Ronnie and I, it's our second startup together. We founded the first one in 2014, sold it to a company called Uplavin, some of you may know it, in 2019. We've managed the local site of Uplavin for 3.5 years, and then left in order to join forces with Adi. He's our CTO. He's coding from the age of 10, and he's like a wonder boy, and he's founded and sold 2 companies. One was a B2C company, the other one was a cybersecurity company. And we were lucky enough to sync our ways into founding Clarity Q. So let's talk a bit about the pain that we are addressing. So these kind of questions that you see here are questions that are asked on a daily or even an hourly basis in every product company. For B2C companies, we always ask about metrics of engagement metrics, retention metrics, user journey, user behavior. For e-commerce, we ask about conversion rates, the cart behavior, etc. And for B2B, for SaaS companies, we ask about ARR, drop-off points of revenue, etc., etc. So the problem is that these kind of questions can only be answered in every company only by the data analysts. They are the one that know SQL. They know the data, the bits and bytes of the data, how exactly the data is built. And most of the time, no matter how brilliant the analysts are, and we work with brilliant analysts, they are really overloaded. They are actually the bottlenecks of this entire data process, because they have to serve the entire company, not just the product or the marketing and the growth and the sales and the management, but the entire company. And so decisions are made in a delay manner, actually. Sometimes they are delayed in days or weeks, or even just people make decisions without a supportive data, and this is really bad for the company. So this is why we've created Clarity Q. Using Gen AI, we provide a platform that both serve the analysts as a co-pilot for analysts. There are plenty of co-pilots for developers, but none for analysts, so we are the first that offer this. And also platform for business users to ask questions in natural language and be able to get answers in natural language with rich visualization, very compelling visualization, storytelling ones. And the key of providing accurate and immediate answers is actually understanding the business context of each and every company that work with Clarity Q. So there is the data, but we need to understand exactly what the data means for each and every company. Let's see it in action. Let's see ClarityQ in action. Okay. So what you're about to see is a demo, but it's connected to real customer of ours, to real data of customers of us. We got an approval, of course. We just changed the name. It's a mobile gaming. It's a mobile game. We called it Star Search. And let's see a question. Which country with over 1,000 installs have the highest usage and the lowest revenue per user? So there are some opportunities in these countries. Now, you can ask the question, and our agent starts to run. We believe in transparency and explainability, so we show every step of the way. The agent shows the plan, the thinking process. At every moment, you can just abort it and say, I meant something else. I want you to look at another metric or something. So you can see all the steps here. You can see exactly how it calculates each and every step of the answer. For analysts, we also provide a way to actually edit or change or refine the SQL that is generated at the end. You see here the final SQL here. Again, this is the process of updating. This feature is only available for analysts. And of course, as I said before, rich and compelling visualizations that you can download, zoom, share, make a PDF, an email, or anything you like to do with this. And from now on, you can actually ask any follow-up questions you like, from the simplest questions like change the graph to red, to a very deep dive into the data, more of a deep research into the data, like suggest ways to increase the revenue in India, which is supposed to, probably have a lot of opportunities in it. You can also ask about root cause analysis, or actually anything you like, and ClarityQ can help you. How do we do it? This is what I said before about the context. We generate automatically the table catalog, event catalog, and semantic catalog. We understand the business context, the semantics, how each and every company calculates each and every metrics. And this is important because every company calculates differently the metrics. So once this is built automatically, we connect, we provide it to the analysts. There's always human in the loop. AI, we all know, doesn't work like magic. But again, we do it as automatic as possible. We connect not just to your data warehouse, but also to the BI tools, the Tableau, the Looker of the worlds, to your query history, and to every documentation the company might have. Here you see the actual answer for the more exploratory questions that we just asked on how to increase the revenue in India. This is a nice use case. Actually, it's a real use case just from this week. On Monday morning, one of our customers actually conducted a research of the Black Friday, the Black Friday performance. It took him 2 minutes to do so instead of a few days. That's it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to have our judges now.
Thanks for the presentation. I have a quick question. One is, given like a lot of these businesses are already using AI tools, they're already using these like analytics and data tools. Are you integrating with the existing tools already, like Tableau, Snowflake?
So
one.
Yeah. Sorry.
And second part is like, what stops products like, let's say, Power BI? They all have AI layer now. Like, how do you differentiate from them?
So as for the first one, we integrate all the data sources that the customer is willing to give us. We have to integrate into the data warehouse. This is where the data is stored, so we have to do it. But it's super important for us also to be integrated, to be connected to the Tableau and Looker, because we want to have one single source of truth for each organization. We don't want anyone to look at a dashboard in Tableau and ask questions in ClarityQ and get different answer. So it's super important. We have our own UI, as you can see, but we also can provide an API for embedded UI, so it's not a problem. And as for your second question, yes, definitely. They're all, by the way, providing it to some extent, but we are connected to various data sources. So if Tableau provided it's only for Tableau sources. And we are connected to the entire data stack of the company. And also our moat is how we build the context, which is super important. We have customers that tried some of the BigQuery, Gemini for BigQuery, or Snowflake Cortex, and are now using ClarityQ.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. It's interesting very much. So as you just mentioned, definitely like the key would be how easily and how quickly you could really like integrate those business contexts in each of the business setting, right? And then in the customer needs. Just to the extent like you're comfortable sharing, like how would you ensure this like approachability and the kind of like intrinsic like customability like compared to the like more custom made like agentic AI systems like they are internally developing?
Yeah, so as I said before, we are connected to the various data warehouse, the data sources, including the documentation systems, or any documentation that the customer can provide us, we integrate in our solution. So we have automatic tools to build this semantic catalog and understanding the business context, but as I said before, and I have to emphasize it, it doesn't work like magic. We have to have the analyst, the data team in our customer's company to be onboarded here and to approve each and every automatic descriptions that you saw here in the table catalog and in the semantic catalog. They need to approve it, and only then our agent can run and answer questions accurately. So our job is to provide the best and most easiest tools to the data team in order to approve everything and in order to make sure that the agent is always up to date and provide the best accurate answers. So the role of analysts is now shifting a bit. I mean, we reduce a lot of the ad hoc questions. Actually, 100% of the ad hoc questions coming to the analysts are now eliminated. And we also provide a way to help analysts to generate complex SQL, and provide and conduct in-depth analysis. But there is something like 10% role addition to analyst roles of being in charge of the AI agent. And this is definitely the future of data analytics. Thank you so much.
Oh, next I'll have Q come up. Trying to get your deck up, so give me 1 sec.
Cool. Hey everyone, I love the serious faces. I'm Quincy, Extra Copy. So we help companies to find market fit by copying the best. So finding market fits is like a really long journey, right? Every startup does that. But most of the time it's not really about what you're selling. It's not about the product. It's about how you're selling it. It's about who you're selling it to. It's about where you're selling it, the distribution channel, and when you're selling it. So let me give you some examples. Alex Bar, same product, same ingredients, everything. Different narrative, different packaging, everything. Now, $2 million sales to 160 million sales just by changing narrative. What else? We got PayPal. PayPal started with P2P transfer, right? But then they found out, hey, we need eBay merchants, and then eBay merchants take like 9% of the transaction value. So that's repositioning to another customer. Now, when we have all these playbooks and all these product market fit stories, and all these experts, we can actually just scrape, cluster, and copy every one of these experts, thousands of them, and then apply it to your company. And we build agentic workflows to deploy it. Then we benchmark the performance data. So we get them like huge inbound traffic. They rank on search engine. They get better ICPs, better narrative on the sales page, and eventually more conversion. So apparently, helping companies to find market fit, we charge $500 a month, then we double it to 1,000, then we double it again to $2,000 a month. It's still cheap. We're profitable, we're 276K ARR, and then we have 600K in pipeline just from inbounds and word of mouth. Now, here's the industry landscape. Everyone is selling to startups. You see a bubble, then they move on to enterprises, right? Enterprises, you have low adoption. But what we're seeing is like, there's this mid-market full of SMBs. They have stable products, stable revenue, stable customers for years. They just lack that inflection curve. And if we can change a little bit on their customer, on the narrative, on the distribution, and help them to get like 10-20% increase in revenue, it's gonna be amazing. So our goal is to bring the third AI adoption, and that start with SMBs. We're backed by amazing angels from Airbnb, Yahoo, and more. And most importantly, our customer became our investor, Christian Timbers. We're hiring engineers. We're finishing a round before the holidays. And if you need help to find your best customer in the best distribution channel, come find me. Thank you.
A recommendation and a couple of questions. What's the name of the company?
Extra copy.
Yeah, you should have it on the slide.
Yeah, well,
pretty
if
much
you're really
every slide.
interested, then you'll find out. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. Good answer. You said you were in revenue 267K. What is the cost of capital for that?
You mean a margin?
The cost of sales.
We're not paying ourselves. We're just founders, and then engineers is like 60K a month.
Zero cost of sale.
So cost of
Zero cost of sale.
sales.
Yeah.
It's inbounds.
That's inbounds.
It's inbounds. Yeah.
So how do you scale your business from 267K? Say, for example, if you're given a target to scale it to $2 million, 10x, 2.5.
I see. So here's the thing. Our sales cycle is incredibly simple. It's companies who is urging to scale and grow, right? So almost profitable. They're small team, single decision maker. The B2B, $100 instructors in size. And our sales cycle is like, we reach out to them, say, these are 3 things they need to fix. And then if they respond back, we get on the first call, we tell them what we do, the performance data. Then it's a simple yes or no. Then they pay the invoice. That's it. We don't follow up, because if we follow up, it means that they don't have enough urgency to grow. So we only help companies like that. At first, we were scraping job listings to see who is hiring which role that we can automate. Then we jump in and say, hey, we can do it faster, better, cheaper. So they already have urgency to hire to solve their problems. We just jump in to build trust, and that's it.
Congratulations, because you're able to get $2,000 out of a customer every month, and with limited marketing.
We can double it again.
Yeah, question on the stickiness of your products. Once a customer has found your product market fit, how is your product sticky?
Well, they still have to maintain it, right? If you have inbound traffic, if you have like ICP, you still iterate in the process. For example, Christian Timbers, they're a 100 million search firm. I think they hired for raise cap before as well. They're still doing it. We help them to build more case studies, find more ways to shorten the sales cycle. It's a continuous process. And we have like full context traceability. So if they move away, they lose everything. Basically, we have the winning formula, and then the more jobs we automated, the better it gets.
Thank you. Good job. Good traction, though. How long did it take for you to get to 0 to 267K? What's the timeline it took?
Well, we started like 8 months ago, and then we pivoted 8 times.
8 months, you were able to get to $250,000, more than $250,000. That's impressive.
Yeah. All right.
Good.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Good job.
Kevin. Hi, everyone. My name's Luke Blausch. I did my PhD at Stanford. I did my PhD in a field called microfluidics, which allows us to basically take biological experiments and do them at the microscale, very high throughput. We're now merging my background in this with AI to produce millions of different drug compounds, and then we're screening millions of drug compounds quantitatively for function. Through doing that at DropXL, we are revolutionizing drug discovery. We need to revolutionize drug discovery because right now our current methods are not working well enough. Over 90% of all drugs that make it into clinical trials fail, and 2/3 of the time this is because the drugs are too toxic or they're not potent enough. And we believe that if we were able to, instead of just taking a drug into clinical trials, if we could take instead the best drug possible into clinical trials, we could decrease the chance that these drugs will fail. We can bring better therapies to patients, and we can really de-risk the whole drug discovery process. Right now the process is incredibly risky. That's why drugs are so expensive. Right now, antibody discovery is essentially a broken process. Antibodies are a $250 billion market. Most of the top drugs on the market are antibodies, top immunotherapies for cancer, for example. Right now, you screen millions of drugs for binding, but then only screen about 20 for biological function disease. That's not enough to find the best drug for your disease. My last company I was at before, starting DropXL, failed because none of those 20 had function, and then we had to shut down the company. And now with AI, there are methods to design drugs, but you still have to test those for function. Most of the time, those drugs that you are designing don't actually have any function whatsoever. But you still are able to create these large libraries of drugs that have potential, right? So there are animal models that you can use that have been used for like 20 years. There's also new AI models which have been used for 2 or 5 years. And then there's ways to create drugs combinatorially as well, which have really high potential. So if we can screen all these drugs for function, we can find the best ones, bring them forward to patients. But right now, you can only screen about 20. So if we could screen millions, that will allow us to do that. So our solution for this is our Excel Drop platform. This is patented. We filed 2 patents internationally. These aren't just provisionals. These are proper filed patents. And it's with this, our Excel Drop technology, which quantifies the function of drugs in a miniaturized format such that we're actually testing on single cells instead of bulk cells. So with this, we're actually quantifying 10,000 times more drugs for function disease. So 10,000 times, that's, you can find a lot better drugs for patients that way. We're also doing this in half the time, which is very important. For certain customers, we can do it for 1/10 the cost, allowing us to do this with startup companies as well. And we can bring better therapies to patients this way. We're much more quantitative and higher throughput than our competitors who have raised hundreds of millions of dollars in comparison. We've raised about $210,000 so far. And we have our MVP built. We have demonstrated that our platform can quantify the function of some top anti-cancer drugs compared to traditional formats, except our platform can be scaled to do this for millions of drugs. We're also using it for AI-driven drug discovery, where we can actually quantify the drugs out of an AI platform so we can screen millions of AI-derived compounds. We're doing this with the Agentic, who presented earlier today. We're finalizing our MVP on that. We predict that we'll be able to get very similar performance to currently FDA-approved drugs with this process. The first iteration was promising. We're just doing the proper comparison. Should be done by the end of this week. Karthik over here can confirm that for me. But we'll then be able to take these drugs, test them rapidly for function on our platform, millions, and then use that to train the models. So we're training on basically more data than antibodies have currently been created so far with our platform. We're in the process of signing 2 deals, which will guarantee us about $500,000 in revenue for 2026. We are also fundraising. With that, we can probably get to $1 or $2 million if we fundraise, but we're currently bootstrapping, as Akash mentioned before. We have a lot of interested additional parties, but we're really trying to get this this data on our MVP for these partners. That's what these initial partnerships will be helping accomplish, in particular the first one with these mice studies. We're going to be generating good initial profit over the next few years, but one part of our strategy is to get milestone royalties on drug payments, which will allow us to generate a lot more cash in the long term as well. So basically, as a drug goes through clinical trials, goes to market, we will have hundreds of little lottery tickets from the startups that we're working with. So each time one of these startups that we work with, we'll charge them a very low amount to start, and then when the drugs eventually, most of them will fail, but some of them will go through, make it into clinical trials, make it into patients. We can make $20 million a year on these drugs when they get approved for, a couple months of work up front, really a couple days of work and then a couple months of contract negotiations, but really high potential for our business model. We're raising $2 million. A lot of this is going to generate key data that's going to make our sales cycles a lot easier, so I don't just have to convince people that I'm capable. I can just show them the data that we have. We're going to do some more building of our platform to get basically to stay in the lead with our technology. This is a very active field. We have to invest in our technology platform in order to stay in a good position. And then we'll also be finishing our AI platform in the next few months. And we plan to get, if we fundraise, over $1 million in revenue. If we don't fundraise, it'll be about $500,000 in revenue. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of DropXL. Been at a bunch of different biotech companies in the past. My co-founder, Tony Sandrasekhar, has been doing this for about as long as I've been alive, not quite, but a long time. He's co-founded a number of Harvard spin-outs, worked at big pharma. Megan has closed multiple billion-dollar deals. She's our business development advisor, and then we're working with Agentic for our AI development. So thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, we'll have our judges now.
Very cool idea. Thanks for the presentation. I love the idea of the royalty play. Specifically, it feels like it's almost venture, but for drug discovery.
Yeah, we have the math of venture without having the money of venture. Right?
Yeah.
We don't have to put in our own money for it.
I love that idea. I guess the question that comes to mind is, have you sanity checked that business model with any of the drug companies, and is there any early traction?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different business models at play. We have some that are attractive to big pharma. We have some that are attractive to medium pharma, and then this high royalty model is attractive to the smallest pharma, okay? So right now we're in a difficult funding environment for biotech. So really, if you're a biotech founder, you are having a hard time raising capital. You need a way to stick out. So the biotech companies which I've spoken with, we've been developing this strategy over about the past month. Previously, we've been more focused on big pharma. Over about the past month, we've realized this is a great market for us. So we've been having a number of different conversations. The feedback we've gotten has been really positive, that essentially if we are able to help these companies get better molecules and get them tested earlier on, have access to some of our AI tools as well as our platform, that'll be useful for them, that'll help them raise money. We've gotten confirmation both from companies that have not raised any capital. Yeah, we're trying to charge like $25K, so it's like maybe you have that in your bank account, or maybe your uncle has it in his bank account. You can do like a friends and family run, as well as companies that have raised about half a million or so. And we can do that up to a couple million, and then the math doesn't make as much sense because they're venture funded, and we don't have as much leverage, frankly, in those cases.
Very cool. Thank you.
Your ask is clear, $2 million. What's your ticket size?
Say that one more time.
What is your ticket size?
The total amount that we're raising is...
Not the total, the ticket size.
What's
the minimum you can invest into your company?
Oh, thank you for clarifying. I mean, we can always put into an SPV if it's a lower amount, but we're not too picky, maybe 100K or so if we don't put into an SPV.
Okay, you did mention about, that was one of the questions that I had. On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult is it for you to raise capital given the environment and given it's biotech?
Yeah, it's a difficult environment, like very openly. We have been fundraising, and we realize that we're in a position where it probably makes sense for the next couple months to be focused on this bootstrapping play. And then when we have this data from both of these partnerships, we're in a very strong position to go out and be like, hey, you guys should have invested in us like 6 months ago, because now we're way more expensive, and that helps me control the company and the team. Right?
Just to follow up on that point, I mean, I'm sold on this idea of you having agentic AI take care of your AI development. That's great. And you with your background with Stanford and also on the GTM, the credibility that goes along with it, and then your co-founder, great. But who is helping you on the fundraise?
Yeah, that's
it's a problem child, but I don't see a solution.
Yeah. If you want to help PK, I would love some help. I've had a number of different, I try to build a community of people who have helped make intros, and that founders have made intros. Different partners. Megan's made some intros for us in the past, but it is biotech is a very the people matter community. I'm earlier in my career than someone who's been doing this for another 30 years, right? Tony's on the technology side. He's been at companies, but he hasn't been the one fundraising. So I mean, if you know anyone who can help with that, I'm certainly happy to.
Just finished a $5 million. Just finished a $5 million round for an healthcare company. Trust me, it's been very tough. I don't want to discuss anything on fundraising in the month of December, but January, yes.
Yeah,
January, yes, not December.
Yeah. This event was here, so I'm here.
Overall, good presentation, clear, good traction. You said how much you've raised so far?
We raised and spent about 200K to build the MVP. Of this round, we have about 300K committed.
Given that it's very competitive, increasingly competitive, getting in this AI application in the drug discovery, would you have anything you could say add to differentiate yourselves in building up the strong data library and a strategic approach to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually did a competitive analysis this week because there's been some new data that came out from Nabla Bio. There's a new partner at Eureka, and then there's a couple of other competitors that released some data this week. What really allows us to stick out is we're extremely high throughput. So whereas we can screen as many antibodies as any of these companies out there, we've raised, in some cases 1% of the capital. What we have a strength in compared to any other company is our ability to do both high throughput and quantitative screens. So you don't want to just screen, you want to also quantify those antibodies. And we have developed some proprietary methods to do that type of quantification. And when you have that type of quantification, the way that you can train the models is much more powerful. So we're quantifying both, I'm not sure your exact background, but we can quantify both the binding of a drug to a target as well as the function of that drug in a biological pathway of the disease. And so those two together, plus just doing quantitative in the first place is really powerful, and that's where we're, I think, very differentiated.
How different approach you could take to filtering out and then also analytics, running the analytics, right? And then my question was more about the data library itself. Do you have any kind of a strategic approach to
how you get the data itself?
Yeah, exactly. So for example, lots of startups now increasingly partner with the large biopharmas.
So the way that we get the data is it's our data. So we start by generating a number, millions of different antibodies, but then we get the data by quantifying the function of those antibodies on our high throughput screening platform. So it's our proprietary data that we're training on. Of course, there's some pre-training that all these models are going through, but in the long term, the data will be in large part trained by our models, if that answers your question. By our own data, I mean. All right, thank you very much.
All right, we're gonna have Jess come up. So. You have the clicker, Jess? Whenever you're ready, so.
Good evening. It's great to be here today. My name is Jess Liu. I am the CEO and founder of Intrigue AI. We have built autonomous AI agents for the consulting industry that analyze, think, and reason just like top-tier consultants do. So let's take a look at the problem here. The consulting industry is supposed to be an extremely sophisticated industry, advising some of the largest enterprises like your Fortune 500 companies. The issue is they spend so much time cleaning, working with data before they can even get to the insights and the value they're supposed to bring their clients. Now, if we take a look at the opportunity here, we're talking about a very high margin industry. You already see lots of private equity funds invest into professional services firms because of the margins they're making. You'll also notice because of how highly inefficient they are, their juniors are making easily 6 figures straight out of college. So this inefficiency is turning into large dollar amounts that they are wasting. That's where Intreat comes into play. We have built autonomous AI agents that gets them to the initial sets of insights without an initial line of prompt being written by the user. Now, what does our platform do exactly? So we start with the data. So a lot of the core of our product is working with proprietary client data rather than external data. So we can go deep and broad. So we can ingest billions of rows of data or thousands of files that typically sit in messy data rooms that consultants have access to. We then deploy our AI agents that have different functionality and are specialists in various different tasks across that engagement lifecycle for the consultant. From there, we have a validation engine so that every insight that is produced is backed by a source, and this allows the consultant to scale their engagements and not have to repeat each task that is being done time and time and again. So we are different from some of the other players in the field in that we have a unified data foundation. So all the data that is ingested from a particular engagement is housed for each engagement. There's a lot of automation involved in our system. So there's very little user querying that's required from our users. And our system has been trained on deep domain intelligence and expertise and case studies that we have put into the system. So the market is one of the most exciting things about where we're playing in. We've already seen huge successes in legal tech with a few unicorns come out, including Harvey and Eve. Consulting is about 10 times the size of legal, and we're just at the start of that revolution. So in terms of what we've achieved to date, in our first 2 months of operation, we were involved with Deloitte in one of their largest bids to PIF, the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund that has about $800 billion under management. We're speaking to some of the large names who are in our pipeline, including Grant Thornton and Mazars. We have a few initial paying customers, and we're currently active with 4 pilot customers on our new product launch as well. In terms of our team, so in terms of myself, I've spent over a decade in the industry, so I understand this pain like the back of my hand, and it was something I wanted to set out and fix when AI started coming out on the scene 2 years ago. We have a team of 7, and we have a number of advisors that we're working with who are ex-MBB and have deep AI and machine learning expertise. Our CTO is also a third-time founder with a previous exit. So in terms of where we are in our journey, we raised our pre-seed round earlier this year. We're looking to launch our seed raise early next year and forecasted to hit just over $1 million in ARR before the end of next year. So we look forward to having you join us in this revolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you for presenting. Cool idea. I guess the question that comes to mind for myself is, with consulting, is this essentially trying to replace the consulting firms and partner directly with the companies themselves that are looking for consultants? Or are you trying to partner with the consulting firms and essentially vectorize and run agents against that data? Like, what's the play?
Yeah, doing the latter more than the former, because in our view, so YC recently backed a company that is trying to do the former. We strongly believe that isn't the place to go at the moment. I think it's no surprise that AI still hallucinates. There still needs to be a human in the loop, given where the technology stands today. But there's a lot of efficiency gains that are to be made. So we are looking to work alongside consultants. However, we have had a few opportunities already where consultants are looking at a rev share agreement for our solution to sit with their clients on a go-forward basis once they've left the business.
Excellent presentation. I saw RV on that slide. And do you know the valuation of RV?
Within the legal sector?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is the valuation of RV?
Oh, the valuation, $8 billion.
No, currently it's at 5 billion, but
I thought they just, yeah.
it's 5 billion in valuation, 150 in ARR. But it's a very interesting space that you're in. There is huge challenge working with law firm. It's not easy to work with a law firm. What are the challenges that you find? Since you already have Grant Thornton and few firms, so what was your challenges? What are the learning? And how do you plan to scale this if you have to go after more customers?
Yeah, I mean, one of our largest challenges is we do see hallucinations show up, even though there's a lot that we're doing in the background to avoid the hallucination, but that is still very real. The other challenge is that sometimes there are quite specific use cases that consultants look at. For example, if they're dealing with a very complex corporate structure, the solution needs to be able to understand that corporate structure. So there are things we are doing to improve the system to be able to account for those specific use cases.
Okay. And if you need a go-to-market partner in this space, come talk to me.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks.
Yeah, in your pilots, what kind of metrics are the consulting firms looking for pilot success?
So we're doing an exercise with them. So in terms of metrics, it's really around speed, time savings, cost savings, because there are some firms we're working with who have limited resources but want to do more deals. So those are the two main metrics. And then accuracy and comprehension. So what we actually do is we run their data through our system, and then we compare the final output of what the system generates against their final output as well. So that's how we tick off that comprehension box as well.
Yeah, and since you're going after like efficiency gains, are you kind of going after value-based pricing as well?
In terms of our pricing model, it's not what we're trying to keep our pricing model simpler. It's not what we're going after at the moment, but I think there could be an option for that down the line.
They're built by hour, you know.
Amazing presentation. I had one question. How do you ensure compliance and audibility of the data that you get access to while you're consulting with these firms?
Yeah, so, sorry, how do we...
How do you ensure compliance and audibility, that the data you're getting is audible?
So with auditability, every insight that is extracted from the system is sourced, so the users can go directly into the source that it has come from. And in terms of compliance, I mean, we go through the typical like security data protocols through typically the IT teams of our customers, so that typically gets handled through that. And we're in the process of being ISO 2700 and SOC 2 certified. Thank you.
All right, so now I'm going to have Jeremy come up. It's your
next discovery. Yeah, take these sip. Time starts now.
My name's Jeremy Vince. I'm with Next Discovery. My co-founder is in London, Omar Yakubi. Happy to talk to you today about proactive intelligence. So essentially, we've created a new category for business intelligence, executive intelligence. I like to think of it as the only agentic reasoning platform that we have built that can be installed into your virtual private cloud or in on-prem. And then that platform connects API into many different data sources. Think of maybe half a dozen data sources. And then the system builds its own data schema and then autonomously explores that data, spins through it, looking for correlations, looking for revenue drivers, looking for how to save money as a CFO. And then the system can then build the proactive intelligence, the data story. So building a data story and sending that to a CRO or a CFO. All of this happens with no human prompting it, telling it what to go look for, and also no external LLM, no GPU at all. So I'd like to start with that and then kind of get into some of the parts, questions that people have about it. Thinking about the AI world, the AI illusion. When I was chief of staff, working with C-suite boards across the country, with Boys and Girls Club of America before that, you know, we don't know what's happening right now. It's hard to get a dashboard that's accurate. It's lagging. It's out of date as soon as I get it. How do I get something that's leading? How do I get something that's telling me what's going to be happening? There's just so much data in my CRM, as my ERP. I'm the CRO. I know I could double this company. I just got to figure out what's in my data. I got to figure out what's going on so I know the right way to sell and I know how to, what's my golden path to sales. So we look at how do we explain not just explain the past, but then change the future by looking at leading indicators in a data story. $1,000,000 blind spot, think of companies with these lagging reports. I find out what happened after it happened. How am I finding out what's happening before it happens? What are my hidden signals? How do we stop these things and get ahead of this before we lose millions of dollars of opportunity? So this is proactive intelligence. We think our key drivers are the no external LLM, keep your data completely secure. Mid-market companies, this has really hit home hard for them. Not having to be reactive, not having the human to go ask a question, tell it what to go look for, and not a co-pilot, not a prompt, or autonomous thing. Thinking about how it's working, not ingesting data, but querying the data, looking at the data through API, connecting securely, no data leaving your walls. CTOs, CISOs love this. Reason and correlate, petabytes of data. There's so much to look at and compare, and then create the data story. Security is so important. It's so hard to find. It's so hard to get AI working and get ROI out of it because it's so hard to get to this part where you're not having to send your customer data, your financial data out into OpenAI. We've had proven results. So working with a SaaS company, how do we find the golden path to sales, correlate across multiple different systems, and find a way to show him, here's the customers that signed at 78%. He takes that, he increases the conversion rate by 40%. He decreases his time to sell by 30%. He loves it. Working with banks in the UK, found a $750,000 fraud before it happened. He could freeze the accounts, he saved the money, real money. Working with data quality, finding something that had been wrong for 5 years of how they had qualified their data, and then being able to market to the right people in the right way. So our system right now is basically a 60-day sales cycle. Talk to the companies, get them interested, show them the demo, do a proof of value. 3 weeks in, usually doing an executive readout and moving to an annual enterprise contract. A little bit about traction. I don't know if I'm at time yet, Dev. Am I okay? I'm okay? Okay. Thinking about this, we $30 billion market. Sorry there. Every enterprise is drowning for data, but what do we really do with that data? How do we correlate it? AI co-pilots take time. We can prove AI ROI, so 10x ROI in a month. And then that's a really easy sales cycle when you can see this thing is self-funding. So we're live with you in the US and the UK. What else is important here? Leaders are wanting real AI ROI. They want to be able to see that they're buying a product and they can see why they spent money on this and what they got out of it, and that their data is secure. And that's it.
Presentation. Thank you for sharing. One of the core KPIs that comes to mind just hearing about it is like autonomous insights provided or autonomous dollars saved, right, from finding something in the systems. I'm curious, what is like the core product KPI that you guys are measuring against for value back to the customers?
Yeah, we love to see the system be able to, in the first month, be able to prove 10x ROI. So we need to show at least $1.5 million business impact in the first month. Yesterday we did a readout with a California company. It was 57x from the 6 insights that we gave them in the first month. After that, you should be getting new insights every month, if not every week.
Super interesting. And like the thing that comes to mind is almost like the Fin.ai model of like support cases closed and that's how they're charging. I'm curious, how does the actual business model work and how are you charging customers today?
Okay, sorry, I thought you were going to go down a different path because we've talked to somebody like that about helping them solve the problem of how much customer support costs and lower their costs and find their expensive companies they work with in customer support. But for us, we don't look at we don't really care how many insights it generates as long as it generates enough for you to be super happy and love it. We don't care about token. We don't care about anything because we don't have any token costs. So essentially, it's just a flat fee annual subscription. And right now, we're pricing it as basically the same cost as a data analyst, one head count.
Very cool. Thank you.
Come talk to us. Okay, question. How are you going to compete with a company called Critique?
I mean, I don't.
One of them, they pitched tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we consider ourselves a new category and not competing with anybody right now because we don't know of anybody right now that can take an agentic platform, put it into your VPC, nobody talk to it, and no LLM touches your data.
Okay. You said there is a 30-day trial period, 60-day trial period. What's your cost of the burn that you incur during the 30-day period? What kind of a support you need to provide to close that deal? It's not just going to be just give 30 days, the deal is done. No, right? Something happens. So what's the cost of that? Cost of your CAC? I want to think beyond the CAC. So what's your cost?
Yeah, I mean, we can't get to CAC yet because, I mean, essentially we started the end of September selling in the US. By the end of next month, we should be at 10 customers, enterprise level, $1.5 million ARR. And then in 2026, we'll be able to measure CAC much better. Because right now it's founder-led sales. Me and Omar have enough people we know that we should be able to get to our first 30 customers without really having to go out and do marketing and everything we're going to have to do. And everybody's paying for these POCs right now. And so the POC, what they're paying for the POC essentially is paying for everything that we need to do for our complete firm.
They are paying you because you are saving the money, so which is cool.
Or we're making that money.
Making the money. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent presentation. Good, clear.
For 18 years, that's how I've have people have paid me. I make them money, you save them money.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
So I understood that you have a lot of on-prem deployments.
I would say we're more virtual private cloud deployments than on-prem, but we can do both. We can air gap if we had to.
Right. So do you need to have a like a services arm that helps these customers deploy these? And like how big is that team right now?
Yeah, essentially our first month is heavy implementation. And you know, we're going to hire a couple more implementation engineers in Q1. But I think right now every engineer should be able to do like 5 of these a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. I guess that we're done. We're moving on to the next one. All right. Amazing. All right. I'll have Jeremy come up from, oh, not Jeremy, Jim. Sorry, Jim from Inventor.
In veneer. Good evening. Am I last? Okay. I'm going to talk to you tonight about reinventing product launches. But before I get into that, real quickly, how did I get into this business? Around a year ago, I was at a conference down in San Jose, and there was a CEO on stage just like me today, touting about 3,000 releases in 2025, and I went, well, wait a second. How the heck do you do that? How does everybody keep up? And that's what got me into being interested into launches. And I'm seeing launch problems everywhere. Everybody has launch problems that's releasing because essentially DevOps is moving faster and faster, sometimes releasing literally on a daily basis, and marketing, sales, and customer care cannot keep up. And then IDC says that 10 to 15% of revenue is lost because of these botched launches. And I said to myself, aha, maybe there's a gap here. So to help you understand what I'm looking at, I started to look at the typical product launch workflow. And what I rapidly discovered was that the typical flow really didn't fit the AI-powered DevOps teams that are growing at 1 million miles per hour and overwhelming marketing, sales, and customer care. And it's really what it's called a coordination gap between the DevOps speed and the launch abilities that are causing costly failures. And it's impacting a lot of different things across the organization, including creating disappointment for customers, missed opportunities, and lost revenue. So, with a group of 2 other founders and I, we created Inveneer, which is the first multi-agent AI platform that coordinates product launches. And we are looking to shorten the period of a launch from 4 to 6 weeks to 2 to 4 days. And how do we do this? Well, what we do with our agents is we pull out analytics, we pull out PRDs, GitHub, and Jira out of DevOps, and then triggered by the launch, we create content autonomously, such as materials for marketing, sales collateral, and FAQs for customer care. And now you can use the speed of DevOps to your advantage, which you couldn't do before. And suddenly now you have a launch playbook that's second to none. We're going to cut the launch time by 60%. We're also really cutting severely the marketing costs as well, the go-to-market costs by at least 50%. And that means that we can easily see a clear path to an ROI of 15x, if not much more. To start off, because it's a big world out there, we're going to focus on UCaaS and CCaaS. And the reason is that we came from that area, we're familiar with it, they already have the velocity models in place, and they have billions in go-to-market spend. But we're going to start small, but will be learned in this whole new model with SMBs and mid-markets. And that's, again, the area that we feel is best because we'll see they're more have a propensity to adopt new solutions, new ideas, and we'll see a much faster sales cycle. The most exciting part of tonight is that our MVP was released last week. And one of our design partners, Sydney here, can't wait to get started with us because they've already calculated a $2 to $6 million revenue recovery by using Inveneer. We have been doing this for a long time, and we know that since we're first in this category, we have an advantage over everybody else. It's not like there isn't a competitor out there because there are companies out there that are using AI to create new workflows, to actually create new materials and such. But we're the first ones to actually architect the entire cycle of a release and doing it from scratch. And that is our advantage. On top of that, we have a combined 80 years of experience in go-to-market, into product launches, and we've lived through these terrible times with product launches, and we know exactly how to solve it. What we're looking to do, and I'm noticing that's now the number, oh, No, I guess it is coming out there. We're looking to raise $1.5 million right now. That's to essentially get us launched and go to market. We're going to focus on the core team and the marketing team. We expect that we'd have a 20-month runway, and we expect to achieve 2 objectives. One is to get 40 customers and see 1.2 million in ARR. We want to eliminate the bottlenecks. We want to eliminate all those long meetings that everybody goes through when you're trying to launch a release. We want to release everybody from the meeting fatigue. What we hope to do with Inveneer is we hope to eliminate the manual product launches, just like deployment launches have been eliminated today. So we're looking for people who share our vision. We are looking for investors that may have, probably have know some people that have deployments and launch problems and can join us on this journey. My name is Jim Recker. I'm from Inveneer and look forward to talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Jim. I had a question. How do your customers or prospective customers actually measure the lost opportunity today?
How do they do on the website, right?
How do your prospective customers measure the lost opportunity with?
Oh, like the $2 to $6 million, for instance, from that first customer?
15% lost opportunity
As
or
an
lost
example.
revenue, whatever you call it. How are they measuring that today? How are they assessing that?
So what's happening is because of the velocity of these releases, marketing is unsure of what to promote. Sales is unsure of what to sell. And I hate to say this, but customer care usually makes it up as they go along. In the first design partner that we're going to onboard next week, what they've already figured out is that they're missing out on a lot of big opportunities, and they're also missing out on renewals especially. So for instance, they had one big customer they lost a couple of months ago that says, we can't renew with you because you didn't fix the bug. Well, we did fix the bug. Oh, you did? Well, you didn't tell us about that. And then they also miss out on opportunities because marketing doesn't really understand the new processes that came out or the new elements that came out, and they miss out on sales opportunities. All that combined, and this first company is a small educational company, educational software company. They've already figured out they could easily see $2 to $6 million in revenue recovery for next year. And that's just the one, and I have a whole bunch of other ones lined up.
So if I understood correctly, it sounded like you're pursuing in the past to like have the one-stop like centralized place to offer like a different diversified services like CRM and then design creation, like all those like AI capabilities, putting it together. Is your approach more to like orchestrate those like existing AI platforms or partner services, or to internalize the development of the like unique service itself? Which way are you thinking to
The
go
answer
for?
is currently we already know, because we've already in our testing over the last couple of weeks, we can see it easily creating the materials and content. And so then the question then becomes, and it's really a futuristic type vision of what this is going to do. If you take a process that is 4 to 6 weeks long, and then you compress it to 2 to 4 days, how does that impact a company? What happens to the people? What happens to the budgets? How do you manage everything? So there's a huge learning curve that's going to occur. What we're going to do is we're going to approach it slowly and offer at the output side of Inveneer the elements that are most difficult to create. As an example, one of the things that we tried out last week is we created a script for a social media post. Those can take 2, 4, 6 weeks just to create. We created a social media post of 1.5 minutes in less than 10 minutes. It created the script, it created the score, it created the visual descriptions, created a PDF. We took the PDF, a company up the street called Agen. We put the PDF in Agen, came out with the media, the 1.5 minute media post in 10 minutes. So those are the things that we will initially focus on, but we're also looking at analytics as well. The other thing that a lot of these companies miss out on is because they're not doing the whole entire cycle, they're not focused on the return, the feedback from the customers, which then don't feed back into the development teams, which don't necessarily feed back into the next revision or the next launch. We're more focused right in the launch, and we most importantly are not trying to invent any of the tools that are out there. We don't want to be in that business. We're going to integrate with them through our APIs and SDKs. Does that help?
Yeah, since you're actually touching lots of part of the organization and companies like marketing, DevOps, even customer success, who's typically your champion here, and which budget is it going to come out of?
Great question. So the question actually really should be, who's operating in Veneer? Because there is going to be an operator. We predict that's going to be a product manager or a product marketing manager. However, the budget should be a line budget and approved by the entire C-suite, because it's going to impact all the, across the whole organization. Budget-wise, it will probably depend on each company, but most likely it's going to probably be a line item that the C-suite will approve.
I have a question and a suggestion. One of the question, if I recall correctly, your ask is $1.2 million and 40 customers.
Yep.
The cost of acquiring these customers works out to about $30,000. If the target for the spend of that 1.2 towards getting 40 customers, essentially you're talking about $30,000 per customers. How do you justify the yield out of that customer if you're going to spend 30K on a customer? Number one, that's my question. Second is, are you a listener or open for suggestions to how to change this or pivot this in such a fashion where this can become a lot more attractive? So these are the two questions. You want me to repeat it?
No, because I'm going to respond in a way that's going to perhaps answer both questions. We have already learned a lot in the last couple of months in our development phase, and we know that we're going to learn a lot as we approach our early partners, our early designers. And we've already actually in the last week found an area that we did not anticipate being a sellable area, and that is the analytics of the code. What nVeneer actually does, I'm not going to go back to the slide, but it's actually reaching into the GitHub and looking at the code, and it does a complete code analytic. It actually tells the user when it's ready for release. It actually provides enough analysis back to let you know whether or not your code is ready. It also does an analysis on the competitors on the market. It does a readiness analysis to let you know whether it's time to release. That alone could be a product. And in talking just with some of our early adopters, we expect that will be a side business from us. The 1.5 million is a go-to-market on the original premise of reaching out and launching with getting up to 40 customers, and more importantly, enabling us to cover our costs, operational costs, as we get to that size. Mathematically, it works out. We'll probably find out in the next couple of, I'll call it by the end of the month, PK, on whether that calculation is correct just from the first couple of people we have adopted Veneer.
Yeah. If you simulate the whole process, let's say a year it takes, or whatever runway time, you will get 40 customers. That's easy. Yep. It's difficult, but it's easy because you have the money to spend. But you have 40 customers and you have revenue coming out of it, but if the contribution margin is not there, then they become a liability because you have to service that customer. You need to find more capital. More capital. That's the...
No, you're absolutely right. And actually, one of the things that we're considering is raising $3 million and doing it tranches and hitting certain objectives and getting the next funding that way, which would probably be a much smarter way to doing it.
Thanks for the presentation. I'll try and keep this one quick, but to me, it feels like you're building a PMM agent, essentially, or putting a PMM on autopilot that's what comes to mind initially. And I think it falls into this thesis of like over time with model-enabled IDEs, we've seen PMs and engineering kind of become one role. And I think like the next piece that falls in line there is probably marketing, and you get this trio of like a PM, engineer, and marketer all together. But I'm curious, based on initial conversations, what are you hearing from customers in terms of what they actually want automated as a part of this process as the DevOps cycle becomes so much quicker?
I just had one today. He can't wait for the analytics because they want to assure that their code is ready for launch. And the second thing is to fill in the gaps that they can't fill in currently because they don't have the staff. And
Very
that's
cool.
why I know I'm going to be customer driven and fill in some of those gaps initially.
One thing that I've always wanted to exist is, imagine you just pushed, you just deployed, right? And something went live, and if you haven't prepped go-to-market materials yet, this world where an agent could almost run in a UAT environment or a dev environment, what the actual product's going to look like, screen capture that, and then provide it in a demo form, whether that's email chain, whether that's through a Slack bot, et cetera, but get it to the people who actually need to see it performing without somebody needing to manually go in and screen record what's going on. Just a thought.
That's a great product idea.
Let's talk more about that.
Awesome.
That could happen.
All right, we're gonna have to move on to the next
Thank you,
next
guys.
pitch.
Thank you
so.
for your questions.
All right. All right, we're gonna have Rohit come up.
All right. Can everyone hear me at the back? Great. I think I'm the last person standing between you and whatever you're doing this evening, so I'll try to make it quick. While my pitch is coming up, a little bit about me. My name is Rohit Maheshwari. I'm the CEO and founder of Healthy People. Quick clarification, Healthy People is the name of our company. Video Reach is a product I'm going to talk to you about. We're still working on that. Myself, I've spent more than a decade building, selling, and implementing digital health solutions at companies like, or rather working for companies like Salesforce, Deloitte, and I worked with some of the largest US-based payers as well as providers. But today's presentation, I'm going to actually start off on a personal note. My dad was a heart failure patient, and every time we took him to the hospital, there was this one point, which was at discharge, where he wanted to do nothing more but to go back home. And that's where he was often hit and overwhelmed with medical instructions. These instructions were generally delivered by a nurse that was often overworked and was rushing to get him out of the hospital. And while we were exiting, we were given these stack of papers, that contained the discharge instructions, but the instructions were largely generic and templatized and often filled with medical jargon. So while the care in the hospital was great, with all of the focus on the medical staff, when we got back home, that's when the confusion started as to how to understand those instructions, how to interpret them. Now, show of hands, how many of you can relate to this situation? Okay, quite a few of you. And research actually shows over and over again that 75% of American patients do not understand medical instructions that are given to them. Even if they do, 50% of them don't remember them correctly. So it's no surprise that at least 50% of them have at least one medical error post-discharge. So this confusion creates avoidable readmissions. It creates surgery and procedure cancellations, and it creates a hell of a lot of wasted clinician time. It costs our health systems about $16 billion every year in avoidable readmissions, and it costs our doctors about $200,000 to $500,000 every year in lost revenue. So the problem can certainly be categorized as expensive, but if you've got family or friends living outside the US, you'll know that this is a global problem. And when you really drill into it, it's actually not that much of a clinical, but rather it's a communication and a workflow issue, which is what makes it perfect for video reach and agentic AI. So now let's reimagine the experience, right? As a patient, you get back home, you get a text message, you click on the link, and it's actually, you see a video of your doctor speaking to you. These videos are bite-sized. They are easy to understand. They're free of medical jargon. They are hyper-personalized to the patient so that the patient can follow the instructions clearly. It's hyper-personalized to their language, their medical history, their diet preferences, etc. And we collect data from the patients using conversations, not just having them fill out forms. So it's a great patient experience. But we also make it easy and super easy for clinicians, especially because they're so overwhelmed and burnt out. We live in their world. We integrate into the EHR and their workflows. We learn from their existing protocols, so nothing new needs to be created. And we're actually learning their style because we want to mimic that style with the patient. So we learn how they phrase, we learn their tone, we learn how they provide care for their patients. And this concept is working. So we did a pilot with Video Reach, and we proved that for a complex prep like colonoscopy, we were able to improve the prep success by 40%. We created much fewer cancellations, and patients loved us. And these results are helping us win paying customers, 2 of which we have implemented already, and we are creating a pipeline. Mostly right now interest is coming from ambulatory surgery centers and specialty clinics. So it's not just about a great patient experience and improving patient outcomes. We're also helping fix lost revenue and cutting costs. So if you look at our hospitals, they pay up to $500,000 per year in readmission penalties. At surgery centers, every canceled procedure or surgery is lost revenue for them. So just take colonoscopy, for example, just 4 of those canceled in a month, which often happens, it's about $8,000 lost for them, which can be a big number for a small clinic. And then at clinics, our doctors often find themselves repeating themselves. This repetition carries a cost of about $3 per minute for them and directly hits their margins. Now with Video Reach, we can significantly cut these numbers down by improving the discharge process. We've already shown that we can improve prep success, and we can give clinicians time, back time and money. So our business model is rather simple. We're starting off with ambulatory surgery centers, specialty clinics, and primary care clinics, where the ROI is immediate. We are charging them per user per month with limited based on scope. And then our approach is that we're going to build case studies with the clinics first and then actually go after hospitals that have high readmissions. And there the pricing is more patient volume based and tiered. And of course we have competition, but no one is really doing 3 things, or rather combining 3 things to earn patient trust like we are. One is short engaging videos, which have been proven to be the most effective way to deliver content. Second is AI-based hyper-personalization, so patients actually understand and follow the instructions. And third is what we call, actually that should be changed, that's not the latest slide, trusted human touch, which is really seeing their clinicians or their avatars of their doctors that they're familiar with. And from the get-go, we earn patient trust using that. So on the team, joining me on this mission is also Vishwa Gudar. Vishwa is a senior AI researcher. He's led teams at Meta, Mountain Biometrics, NYU. He's won Army challenges. He knows his stuff. And we're, of course, also powered by TheAgentic. And they're helping us really build the product out. We also have advisors guiding us. So we've got a clinician panel of clinician innovators as well as practitioners. And we have Hans, who was here, but is no longer here right now, but he is a seasoned business operator, and he's taken companies to IPO. And we have Chris Sublett, who is a very well-known name in healthcare cybersecurity, guiding our security and compliance policy. We're raising $2 million to help accelerate our vision. Really, the raise is for helping get to the next level of the product. We want to accelerate customer acquisition, and we want to build a solid, repeatable go-to-market engine. and really want to focus on strong retention metrics to then land and expand in our customers. We're not just fixing discharge, we are actually scaling effective patient communication and trust in healthcare. Thank you very much. I look forward to your questions.
Good presentation, Rohit.
Thank you.
I'm going to take the liberty of asking. I manage over 150 hospitals and 5,000 medical offices across the globe. One of the key challenges prepping the student, prepping the patient, especially when it comes to say colonoscopy. People don't just follow the instructions. They come, then during the procedure, at the beginning they have to send them back if they have not followed, because the morning of that day they would have felt hungry. They would have had something that it doesn't work. So how do you handle situations like that? That's question number one. Question number two is, you did say about $200,000 worth of savings per center. How much of that they will pay your organization, if you can quantify that?
Yeah, so both are great questions. Thank you, PK. For the first one, you are absolutely right. Colonoscopy is a very, very complex prep. So what we do is we actually take the standard instruction set that doctors provide. We put it through a simplification engine. We remove any medical jargons. We are then taking the patient data, understanding the patient profile, and personalizing the instruction set, to the patients. Then we deliver this at the right time, so we're not overwhelming the patients with all the instructions all at once, just what they need to know for that day, so that they don't feel overwhelmed, and second, they can focus on that day. We're collecting feedback on that, and if there is any escalation that we need to do, then we can escalate that directly, to the clinical staff. But ultimately, I was actually just at a GI's office. The amount of calls that their medical staff has to field is crazy. So we actually want to also provide a kind of a chatbot type interface to the patient itself, so they can ask the questions as a first stop over there and reduce the workload on the medical staff, thereby saving them time, money, and creating a better patient satisfaction. Of course, we can't take care of every single patient, but we're looking to make the right type of dent.
Okay, but still, if you can quantify that yield out of your effort, if you're able to demonstrate $200,000 worth of savings, what would they pay you, your organization?
Yeah, so for a patient, so we haven't looked at what your outcome-based pricing yet. That's something we're gonna have to study really closely. Right now, we are going in the market trying to study that, but we are going after a kind of a $5 to $7 per patient per month type of a model. And typically these health systems, we're estimating around anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 type of patients being served via our platform, right? For smaller clinics, it's different. It's about 300 to 400. There we've got more of a per user per month with a very fixed scope. But for the larger health systems, it's anywhere from $5 to $7 type of a per patient per month for all of the patient communication.
Okay, so you're doing PMPM?
For now, but we do want to get to what you are suggesting, which is outcome-based. We just want to get the numbers, our own costs as well, understood first.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Do anyone want to ask any more questions? Or?
Everyone's ready to get
All
out.
right,
yeah, one last question. What's your current burn?
Our burn right now is, so the operational, the technology burn is about $2,500 a month. And then on top of that, my team and I, we are bootstrapping this, so we're not really paying ourselves. But the engineering, the support burn is not something I've gotten to yet.
All right, okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all.
All right, thanks for hanging in there. I know it's been 8 pitches, but they were all pretty great. So we'll have the judges deliberate, and then we'll announce a winner, and then we can do some pictures and get out of here. So thank you all for coming. So we'll just give a couple minutes. Yeah. I hope not, but yeah, I mean, everyone's a winner, right? If you especially get funding.
It's my birthday today, too.
No, it's always your birthday. What are you thinking?
All right, raise your hand if you think I won. Thank you. No, I'm the only winner. Yeah. Welcome to my world.
I think we still might have some food over in the back, so feel free to grab whatever. And
No, it's only demo. Demo right now. Consulting, has lots of different types of consulting too. That's why I was like, there's like people consulting, tax consulting, like all different. What about this Quincy that company? He had very little. His name is Quincy. Extra copy. You see, he couldn't even remember. What's next, right? Yeah. We can do that. What we can do is we can have two number twos and then number three. We can do that. So we can have next discovery. I think you have learned this. Next discovery is number one. Is it intrigue and clarity could be number two. Extra copy, clarity, number two, and then the third position is extra copy, or what about the base? I would actually put clarity two at second and intrigue at third. Okay. Okay.
all the money in 8 months. Quarter $260,000. Yeah. Yeah, and let's make the announcement and we can get back into a lunch. Get to a dinner. Oh, yeah. I have to eat that in the lunch first.
Oh no, you have a long day.
So yes.
Just the pizza too.
So yeah, I think we can let Deb know and then we can just announce that.
You're ready? Yes. Um,
All right, everybody, we're going to announce the winner.
Okay, so we got 4 winners tonight, and I'm going to get the number 1 winner for the tonight. Announcement made by the 4 judges.
So the first winner place goes to the next discovery. Congratulations.
All right.
And the second place goes to Clarity Q.
Woo.
And number 3, Intrigue.
And then tied with 3, we had Extra Copy.
All right, awesome. So feel free to come on up. If you pitch tonight, we're gonna get some photos, and we can send them to you so you can, like, you know, I mean, Kevin's got a lot of photos, so. All right, everyone. Do we have anybody else that presented that didn't come up? Yeah, feel free to come on up. Yeah, we're just gonna take photos with the whole group. Yeah, Jim, get on up here. Do we got everybody? Okay, I'll get on this side, make it a little more even. All right, everybody, thanks for coming. We got another pitch night in January, so feel free to submit your pitches, and I will probably send an email out with the dates on that one. So, and there might be some food left, so go grab some food.